Department of Public Health wants to hear from you. They put a new survey online. It's aimed at collecting input on the challenges communities here in the Bay State face and where resources should be directed.
Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lokri joins us live in studio to break down how it all works. Reagan?
Yeah, Abby, Chris, the DPH says its Community Health Equity Initiative will use the anonymous survey to help provide access for groups here in the Bay State who are traditionally underserved.
People who live in the Bay State are being asked to answer questions on topics such as access to basic needs, physical and mental health and well-being, experiences with COVID-19, along with experiences with housing, education, and work, as well as demographic information like age and race. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health says the communities of focus for this survey include groups that historically have been and currently are being denied an equal chance at health, including immigrants, older adults, people identifying as LGBTQ+, people of color, and more. DPH Commissioner Robert Goldstein explaining in a state's barriers to health, as have those who are disabled and many who were not born in this country. These communities have traditionally been left out of the conversation. It is especially important for their voices and experiences to be heard.
The survey opened on July 31st, and it will be available through early fall. For a link, head to our website, westernmassnews.com, and click on the blue As Seen on TV button. Reporting live in studio, Reagan Lokri for Western Mass News.